I'm now going to make a barn owl box to go inside my barn. See if we can encourage to get a barn owl living here, because I've seen them around here, so I know that they're about. So I've got a sheet of OBS here. I'm going to build the box out of that, and then once I've built the box, I'll mount it up on the very top of the gable end of my barn, which is about 5.5, 6 meters high, I suppose. So that should be high enough for them, and it's sort of northeast facing, so it shouldn't get the prevailing winds or the rain. And then with the box being inside the barn and the opening going through the wall, the box should last for years. So that's why I'm using OBS and not going to use ply, because I don't think there's any need. So I'm just going to mark it all out on this sheet of ply. I've only got to put two sides, a top, a bottom and a front, a back as such, inside. And then I'll use the timber face of the barn as the front, and then just cut an opening in that, and then make a exercise tray to go on the outside and just screw that underneath the hole. So when if they get any birds in there and we get some fledglings, then they've got somewhere to hop outside and be able to sit and go back inside again. Right, okay, so I'm just going to mark this out a minute. I've just going to cut the sheet down the middle make the two sides first, so there's no wastage. The actual sides that I'm making, I'm going by the measurements roughly from the Wildlife Trust that I found online, who make these boxes. So I've gone by their sort of sizes, more or less within a few mil, just making it work to the sheet so I get no wastage on the sheet. So that's my two sides marked out. So I'll just get those cut out a minute, and then I can then cut the back, cut the floor and cut the roof out of this. And then what I'll do is get some batten, or I have to cut some on my saw because I haven't got any batten left, so I'll cut some other timber up, CLS or something, to create some battens to screw all on the inside, so this can all be screwed together, and then it can be screwed up on the top, to make it so it's nice and solid and safe and not going to fall or anything else. And probably on the bottom I'll put a 45-degree angle piece of timber on each side going back to the wall, just to hold it all up, so it's just like a shelf really. That way then it should be all nice and secure and safe, and no danger of it falling off the top. Right, I'll get these cut in a minute, and then I'll come back to you when I'm starting to assemble it. What I'm doing here is using up a bit of ply that I've got, save them to cut up the new OSB for this one more piece, which is to the lid. This was a piece of ply out of a van conversion that I've done, and which you've probably seen in some of my other series. I've got a van series there where I converted a van to a camper. So I can use this because it's going to be inside anyway, so it's not going to get wet or anything. Okay, that's some batten. So now what we'll do is start screwing it together. And then what I've got to do is I've got to cut a little notch out of the two sides where it goes across the batten on the end of the gable end that's holding the timber on the outside up. So we just got to cut around that so it fits up flush. So I'll go up there and make some room, take some light up there so I can see, and then I can show you where it's going to go. Okay. Right, I'm up at the top now of the gable end, as you can see here. We've got these battens going across, which is holding the timber on the outside. So I've got to cut my sides a slot out for those, and then it's going to sit down on top of this one. So that gives it a good firm fit in there, and then I'll put a bracket around, but it will be screwed into this anyway, so I don't think it's going to go anywhere. But I shall put some brackets there to hold up the bottom of it, so because it probably gets quite heavy if you've got a couple of chicks in there and parents. So that's where we are. So what we've got to do is here's one of the sides. So that's going to sit something like that. So I've got to mark on here and cut the notch out so it'll go right back. So we'll just mark that up. And that's left hand side. And then we'll get the right hand side and mark that one up. Somewhere there. Okay, right, I've made the box, so we're now ready to cut the square hole out so the owls can get in, and then I can fix the box up onto the wall, and then all I've got left to do is make the tray to go outside for them to land on, an exercise tray or whatever for the youngsters if we get any. So I'm just going to fit this up on the wall now. I'm just going to cut the hole out first with a jigsaw. So I've marked where it's going to go. So I'm just going to drill a hole in here so I can get the jigsaw in. Okay, there we go. One hole for the owls to get in and out. So hopefully you can see that on the camera. I think you can. Yeah. So we're now going to offer the box up. So that goes up into there like that. Now we just got to screw that into place, which I've pre-done. The screws are all in it, ready to go. So all I've got to do is try and get in there, get in there and get the screws in. So we'll start with this one. On here I can see. That's one. Hopefully the lid fits on and there we go, beautiful. There we go, Mr. Owl. That's lovely. Yep. Just got to watch my wires there. I'll pinch my wires up, look. Oh, there we are. All right. Good. Excellent. Alrighty. That's one owl box up. So now we can just got to put the tray on the outside, so they've got something to land on and sit on, and we'll then see what happens over the coming months. See if we manage to get a barn owl to come and live here. Would be lovely to see one, but you never know. Okay, right, what I've got to do now is make the shelf for the birds to land on the outside of the barn. Now the box is up inside. So I've got a piece of Waney Edge. I think this is ash. That's one of our own trees that we've had cut down and boarded up. So I'm going to cut a piece of this about sort of 2 foot long. It's nice and wide. It's about 11 inches wide or so. So that should be plenty for them to land on. And also if there's any young, they can get out on that and sit on it to exercise their wings. So I'm just going to cut this a minute and then make a couple of wooden brackets up to go underneath it to screw it up on the end of the barn. And that will be the owl box done for the barn owls. And then fingers crossed we'll get something interested to go in there over the coming months, and hopefully we might get a resident barn owl pair. So right, I'm going to cut this, and then once I've done this, I'm going to make the brackets up, and then we'll get it up on the outside of the building. Okay, I'm just climbed up on the roof of the hide. It's a little bit slippy up here, but just go steady. You can see the hole here that I've cut in the end of the barn that goes into the box. So we're going to put the shelf up now, so they've got something to land on. So I've made up the brackets. Oh, so I've got my 2 brackets, L brackets, just simple. They just got a screw on here somewhere like this, and then we can put the shelf on. So we'll just mark it out a minute so I know where I'm screwing into. So this is the board. It's going to go on there, something like that. So we'll get the 2 brackets on, and then that'll do them. Simple. Right, okay, so let's get my drill. So the first one can go here. I'm just going to eye it in something like that. I'm not going to bother with spirit level. So that's the first one in place, just temporary. Oh. And we'll put the second one up here, and we'll just put the shelf up on it, and then I can just eye it in to get it something like level. I don't mind if it's not quite level, it'll help the water to run off it. So something like that. That looks all right to me. So I'll just put it in there, something like that. Right, that's that one in place. So we'll just screw this one up now properly. And then we can put a screw in the top to hold the shelving down. There we go. So that's those shelves on nice and we put on. So I just got to put a couple of screws in the top to stop that from coming off. So I just need to go and just drill a couple of holes through it and then go and get some screws. So I'll put one in about here somewhere. And one in the back. And then same on this side. And there we go. I'm just going to get some screws to screw that down, and then some paint to paint it to hopefully stop it from rotting too quickly. And that's it. Nice and easy and simple. Just go and get the screws. Right, so that's the perch done for them to land on and the young to come out and stretch their wings. So that's my box all done. Inside I'm going to put some sawdust in it now and then leave it alone and see what happens over the coming months. So I hope you've enjoyed this little video on making an owl or a barn owl box and putting it on my barn as part of my wildlife bird photography series that I'm doing. So yeah, so this is I think episode number 4 doing this. So if you look back through, you'll see in the playlist or on my channel the other videos that I'm making as I progress with this little adventure. All right, so if you like what you're seeing and would like to help me, if you could subscribe and give me a thumbs up, that'll help the channel grow and get more people to see it. If you ring that bell as well, then that will let you know when the next video comes out. Brilliant. Thank you for watching. Cheers and gone. See you directly.